There are about 30 species of large cats in the world, 16 to 17 of which are on a pathway to extinction. Cheetah is one of them. So what they've done is tried to capture the ones that are in captivity, cheetahs in captivity, to mate them, but she's very difficult to mate, and here's why.
Tell me about these dioramas. How long you've been doing this?
Well, every time I get asked this question, I start by saying I used to belong to a New Jersey military modeling club. And the idea was to create military models in a historical scene. And I used to do that, but I would do it without people. And they kept asking me, you have to have people, soldiers. I said, I don't believe in war, so I don't believe if people don't show up, nobody gets killed, nobody gets hurt. They kicked me out of the club. So then I started to do doll houses. It wasn't satisfying. And I started to do these visual dioramas. It gave me a chance to write, gave me a chance to use my craft, and to say things about life. So these dioramas are depictions of our issues, human issues, such as women's rights and animal extinction and global warming and so on and so forth. And I write up narratives with each piece. So a kid could come and look at them because I use animals as metaphors. It's like Toys R Us on steroids.
Yes.
But people who read, then the adult can read a narrative, and maybe I can provoke them to think, and this is very important, to think in transformative ideas and transformative concepts, because the world is changing so quickly, okay? And we all like progress, but we don't like change. But the change that's required today is going to require transformative thinking. And I'm trying to provoke that among all people, because the ideas have to be really big today for us to succeed, especially in Vermont or any state.
Lou, so tell me about the cheetahs, the cheetah girl, cheetah woman.
There are about 30 species of large cats in the world, 16 to 17 of which are on a pathway to extinction, okay? Cheetah is one of them. So what they've done is tried to capture the ones that are in captivity, cheetahs in captivity, to mate them, but she's very difficult to mate, and here's why. She chooses mates that have to be generations beyond. Think about that. Somehow, from the scent of the male, she knows that he's not a cousin or a mother or a brother or so forth. He's way down in the generations. And the further he's down in generation, in DNA, the better she'll mate with him. But it's difficult to find those kind of males for this cheetah. Okay, it's interesting. Probably it took man 2,000 years to realize that he shouldn't marry his first cousins or his brothers or his sisters and so forth. This animal, in his DNA, his natural state, knows that it's a bad idea from a progenitor standpoint to mate with somebody that close, a brother or a sister. So she looks for it. Now, it's a problem because in captivity, the people who are in charge of the zoos and so forth have difficulty finding mates that she'll choose. Okay? And she's very particular, much more fickle than human beings, and so I would think so. But it's amazing that from a scientific standpoint that she can sense if this mate is now further away from her in generations and the only one. The further a generation, the more she'll choose that mate. I think that's a fascinating thing. But the difficulty again is that if they don't find these correct mates, the shame of it is that the cheetah will become extinct. Think about that. I have strong feelings about animals becoming extinct. Imagine waking up and children have no animals, only their pictures or animatronics, or we make robots.
It's happening. There's so many extinctions since 1970.
Yes, it is. It's sad. And much of the big animal extinctions is man-caused by hunting, deforestation, all the other things that we do to destroy the environment. And that's an issue that we really have to deal with. The jaguar, like other big cats, like I said before, is on the road to extinction, okay? But the jaguar has a very religious connotation. In Brazil, where the jaguar represents a myth, religious myth, and there are shamans, okay, that believe. And here's the basic thing: shamans use the magic of the jaguar and other things as medicine. And the Brazilian people come to the shamans to cure their ills. Now he believes, the shaman believes that if the jaguar dies and extinct, there'll be no more medicine, and we cannot save the Brazilian people. That's very sad. Don't forget, that's all psychosomatic, but that psychosomatic can kill you. So we're doing everything to save the jaguar, and like anything else, he's being, because they're taking the jungles and making them used for agriculture, the jaguar is on the road to extinction. Sad.
Lou, why are human beings so unevolved compared to other animals? Just primitive creatures.
That's a big, major question. Why are we not evolved as we should be? I don't know. Maybe it's our greed, and maybe it's our pride, and maybe it's those kind of things that stand in our way, the obstacles. We think that maybe we're too big, the herd, the population is too big. We think we can't do without, so we take. I think greed has a lot to do with inhibiting our involvement. If you look at an animal, he only longs for a few things like that, mates or food or thirst, and only to his own capacity. The human being, on the other hand, compiles things. He doesn't feel good. His ego doesn't feel good until he owns everything. And isn't that interesting when we look at our economy, that 1% of all the population own most of the money and so forth. So I think that is inhibiting our evolution. That's the best answer I can give you. And myths
religion and myths.
Religion and myths are stories to learn from. Don't take them, he said this one, don't take them for exactly what they mean. For example, he used a great analogy. He said, when you go to a restaurant, okay, and you look at the food like that, you don't eat the menu. The menu learns about the real food. That's what the myths are. That's what religion is. It's teaching you. Don't take it literally because it's not literal. And every culture has the same myths. So as soon as my myth becomes better than yours, we start wars and we kill each other and we do crazy things. That's the nutso part of it.
Well, they're all good. They're all good stories, but that's what they are. They're stories.
They're learning stories. Learn from them. Don't take them exactly. It can't be. You take a particular book. So see my book. This is written by God. Really, it's written by men, and then thousands of years ago. And it's impossible to be, the word of God because, who's God? Yours, mine, or anybody's? I think there's probably an intellectual some force, okay, call it what you will, soul and so forth, that pervades us, but I don't know what it is. And when you tell me I think that, you're a little crazy, because how do you know and I don't know, so we don't know.
It's so incredible. Thank you, buddy. Thank you so much. Thanks for talking to me.